Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to the weekend preview. How's your team looking? I must say, looking at mine, it's making for fairly depressing reading. I don't think I'm going to be in for another good week. Combination of the BYES, the odd suspension, the dropping here and there, and I haven't fully looked. I've sort of avoided. I have had a reasonably busy week. Shorty's obviously moving house at the moment, but I think I could be looking at 15 or 16 prior to the trades. Don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I will be trading out Norton in for Simpson. And look, to be fair, there's really no exact update or preview that I want to focus on. A, because I have been pretty flat out with work and moving house, and honestly, SuperCoach has taken a bit of a backward seat. But secondly, I think the buys, they're so broad, and different weeks for different people will hurt other sides more than others. But more often than not, I think you've just got to stick to that rule to try and trade efficiently, and I guess that Simpson trade is maybe an example of that, of me trying to do that. I traded out Norton, who, to be fair, wasn't playing anyway, but that does eliminate me a zero, and I bring in a guy who has already had his buy. So that's the thinking behind that. I've mentioned it last week and probably mentioned it a couple of times before, but I think that's one of the main things you've got to do. I mean, can't avoid the fact that you're going to have all your players miss at some point in time with a buy. So you've got to try and find a way to beat the system, and the only real way you can do that is by trading efficiently, and in essence by bringing in Simpson, who's already had a buy. I'll cop 29 donuts instead of 30 over this period. So obviously Gold Coast and Port are a bit of an exception. That might be another way that you could tie that in, bring in a Robbie Gray or someone like that, might be able to help you there. But that's mainly how you want to do it, trade efficiently. And if you do a couple of those at the right time and it works out nicely, then all of a sudden you might only cop 25 donuts. I think Hurley, Jeremy Howe, a couple of options to take a look at in future. There's plenty of options through the midfield. There's a lot of fluctuations in price. Obviously Martin's a bit down, Matty Crouch will be around the mark. There's a few guys who are floating up and down. Even the forward line, Menegola might drop into a reasonable position. Franklin's pretty affordable. There are a lot of options. I think even McLean will start to get a little bit more affordable in the coming weeks. So they're just a few things to think about. Obviously this week is going to be tough in terms of the ruck situation. A lot of people are clearly going to have some of their key players through the ruck division missing, so that's clearly going to hurt. And just before I wrap it up, I mean, there's really not too much more to add. I just want to give a shout out to the young fella who said g'day to me down at Simmons Stadium last week. Does his own podcast, SuperCoach Lads, so go check that out on SoundCloud, I think it is. But yeah, thanks for saying g'day. I really appreciate it. Just walking out after the Cats had a nice win over North Melbourne, and he says g'day, so it is nice. It does, provide me with that little bit extra motivation as well. It's nice to meet people who actually listen into what you have to say, because it's great to get views, but it's even better, and comments and things, but it's even better to meet people in real life and actually see that some of the stuff you put out there, people actually take in and have a bit of a listen and do some things that you might actually advise or show an interest in your team and what you're saying. But yeah, so thanks mate for saying g'day, much appreciated. As I often say too, if ever you see me floating around at the G or Simmons Stadium or out at a job in Ballarat or whatever, feel free to say hello, because I'm more than happy to have a chat and talk a bit of SuperCoach. So yeah, but look, in terms of the weekend preview, I think it pretty much winds it up really. I mean, it's horses for courses in terms of how your team's lining up for the bye. Obviously, a few teams had the bye last week: Carlton, West Coast, Hawthorn. With the Dogs, the other one, I think. Obviously, they've already played last night, so can't be trading any of those guys in. But that's what you want to be trying to do. If you haven't got Yo already, or if you haven't got Tom Mitchell or James Sicily, or whether it's Paddy Cripps that you haven't got, or Cade Simpson, those type of guys. If you haven't got them and you want to get them, some of them are still quite affordable. I think they're the guys you've got to bring in. There's no point, unless you have to, bring in a guy, particularly now, who's coming up to the buys. There's no point bringing a fella in who's going to have his buy next week. You may as well just try and hold on and hold out and bring him in once he's had his buy. But that's pretty obvious stuff. Try and trade efficiently. and you should hopefully limit the damage when it comes to this buy period. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope you have a good week in SuperCoach. I am fretting about the press conference already. I feel like it could be a pretty down one this week, but hopefully I can prove myself wrong. I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.